All right, we'll have the Ranch Report with David Moore coming up here in just a little bit. But first, a story of the beach, meth, the law, and you. Did I get all that right?
You nailed it. First off, do you still find it weird when you hear Stephen Jones talk and he calls his dad Jerry?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Jerry and I were talking and blah, blah, blah.
I never did and would have ever even thought of calling my parents by their name.
I know.
But in this case, I don't want to hear him referred to as dad or daddy.
Or daddy.
Or Paul.
Yeah, you know, for him, it's probably better. But it's still unstable.
It is weird. So part of the daily routine out here, we stay at the Marriott and the Ventura Beach Marriott, and we're a stone's throw from the actual water. And they got this really cool boardwalk that we've talked about a ton of times that runs up and down the beach. And every morning, when you go out there, there's surfers everywhere and people clamoring on the beach and people riding bikes up the boardwalk. And it's just very peaceful, and it's a good way to get your head right with the rest of the world as you start your day. It's a great way to do it, as a matter of fact. And so
it's fantastic. It's one of the real fun things, maybe the funnest thing, best thing about coming out here.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And so I can't run like I used to just because of old manness and knee issues and all that crap, but I still go out there and I'll run and a couple miles up there and a couple miles back and take my time, just do it very slow and kind of appreciate it all. Well, today I head out and I get about probably past the pier. So what is that, probably a mile or so, 3/4 of a mile up. And right there's some benches where people kind of sit that overlooks the beach, and they just kind of hang out there on the boardwalk, and they'll look at the surfers and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also, Mike, it's not just the hoity-toity that patrol that area. There's some folks that I like to call drifters.
Yeah. That area does tend to harbor a good number of those a little bit down on their luck.
Yeah. And today as I'm running, I see that there is a young gal on this bench, and she is freaking out. And she is on some heavy, heavy drugs. Meth, crack, PCP, I have no idea. But one of those where she's contorting her body all weird, and talking to herself. And I don't know how old she was, probably 25, 30, something like that. And she was yelling, like screaming at this guy who, I think he was part of the fire stations right down there,
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was part of that outfit. May have been part of their coastal lifeguard unit as well. I'm not sure. But whatever, he was the only man in some sort of position of power around, and he's trying to calm this lady down. And as I get closer, I hear her screaming that they stole it, they took everything, I don't have anything, and she's just when people are all jacked up on that stuff, their hands start clawing up and stuff, and it's really disturbing. Really,
Yeah.
If you've never seen a person tweak out like that, it's incredibly creepy, and she's probably been up for 3 days straight. She looked like a mess.
Mm.
And she's talking about somebody stealing something, and as I get about 10 yards away, she starts pointing at this couple that is coming toward her, walking the other way on the boardwalk. Not only is it a couple, they're pushing a stroller. Totally normal-looking, probably tourists.
Yeah, and totally unconnected with this, right?
Yes. She starts pointing at them going, there they are. They took it all. They took everything. She gets up and starts walking toward them.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy is right. So right at this time, I stop because I'm thinking something's getting ready to go down. And, who knows how freaked out this lady is.
Mm-hmm.
The husband of the couple sees what's going on and steps in front of the stroller. Meanwhile, the guy, the Coast Guard, lifeguard, fireman guy,
the authoritative figure,
he is standing in between them, and he is getting ready to take her straight down to the ground. And she's screaming at them at that couple that they stole her stuff. A couple with a baby.
Maybe they stole her baby.
I don't think that they were the type that were going to steal a crackhead's baby. So wait another 30 seconds as she's screaming and she is being subdued by this man in the authority position. 2 police cars. Now, if you know that area, Mike, there's a hotel right there.
Right.
Like a Sheraton or something.
Right.
And there's kind of a big area where they'll have like art fairs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a roadway or anything, but it's just like a big median area. Well, the cops jumped the curb, came cruising through there, 2 cars.
Yeah, I've seen that happen.
Yeah, lights on and out of the car and undoing the gun buckle and let's do this.
It was about to go down.
Oh my God, yeah. And so I back up thinking, what the hell? And who knows again what this lady is capable of. And it took about a 19th of a second for them to assess the situation and take that girl down as she is screaming bloody murder. I thought about for a second being one of those jackwagons and turning on my phone and rolling on it. And seriously, if you would have, I didn't just because it just seemed too weird for me. But if I would have and would have shown it to you, you talk about the most epic anti-drug video ever made. Like, have you ever had a hankering to do meth?
All the time.
Or any of those really out-of-control drugs that you don't know what you're capable of doing?
This would have scared you straight.
Holy crap, man.
PCP.
That's what it sounds like she was on.
It may have been. But, you see the meth stuff, too, the look they have in their eyes, too.
And when you combine that with mental health issues.
Oh, my God, dude.
Generally, meth doesn't cause hallucinations, though, does it?
Well, I don't know if she was hallucinating. She was just delusional.
She must have been hallucinating. She must have been.
Well, I mean, let's put it this way. If you're up for 3 days straight,
That's true.
who knows what you're capable of seeing and not seeing, no matter what kind of drugs you're on or what you're coming off of. But it was genuinely frightening. And you see like those faces of meth, and you have the woman that got arrested when she was 20, you have the mugshot there, and then it continues until she's 35 or 40, and now she ages 15 years. She actually ages 70 years. This lady was well on her way to that at a very young age, And, God, it was just so creepy, though. But those people, the Tranisent is, if I was homeless, I'd probably live out here, too. Because right here, as a matter of fact, because the weather's so dang good. At the very least, you're never going to get hot. You're never going to get cold.
Yeah, of all the things you have to worry about, weather is not.
Yeah, the elements aren't. Where if you're in Dallas, man, you are constantly, having to.
You could freeze
fight.
to death. You could die of heat exhaustion,
Yes.
stroke.
Or you could enjoy a nice polar vortex day.
I guess you could, yeah. But, it's perfect out here. If I was homeless, I'd try to make my way out here, too. But it's pretty heavily populated out there. But
you see those people down there for sure.
And this isn't the first drug person I've seen either.
Yeah.
There's been another couple of them that I've seen where you clearly can tell that they're on some really good stuff.
I've never seen anybody freaking out or anything, any kind of scene like this, but you do see those people, and you look at them, and you know what's up.
Dude, what if you're
They got a serious Jones.
What if you're that couple and that dad who turned into Papa Bear pretty quick? Like, holy crap.
Yeah.
I mean, what you would do at that point to protect your wife and kid.
He walks away from this knowing he did the right thing.
Where he literally got in front of the whole situation.
Yeah.
Had one hand on the stroller and one hand that was, probably getting ready to just pummel that girl's tiny too. She was a little bitty, wafy, 110-pound, scrawny-ass drug addict.
Was she foxy?
That is the last word that I would use to describe this girl.
So unfoxy?
You know what? No, I don't think they're capable. I think those drugs do something to their jugs.
Would you?
Seriously, think about it.
In a pinch.
When's the last time you saw a big meth addict that had big, nice boobs?
I don't know that I ever have.
Yeah.
But in a pinch, would you?
Would you shut up?
I'm just asking.
Would you?
Not even in a pinch, no. In a pinch.
A pinch.
So,
Let me tell you something.
so uptight, man.
There is not one situation that I've been in where I felt like I was in a pinch for sex.
Just a tip.
In a pinch.
Maybe Buzz will say in a pinch.
Oh, man.
Tonight. That'd be neat.
Well, there you go.
We need more Mike.
There's my transient
More
story.
me?
Oh,
Yeah, I
Mike.
could use a
You're
little
a
more
little
you,
low?
or speak up maybe. You sound kind of like, I don't know, like
Okay,
Clint
Blake
Eastwood
just-
today.
Blake
Turned
checked it.
up.
Yeah, you sound like you had a long night. Did you?
Anything but.
No.
No?
Anything but. Last night was very docile. Last night was movie and
I feel like I'm
movie
doing the
and
show
chit-chat
with Corby and Batman. Is that true? It's kind of whispery.
All right, well, get me turned up
There you
then.
go.
Is that better?
Yeah.
All right.
Did she have chugs?
I then.
Entertainment news.
No. Not
Aye.
entertainment news. The Ranch Report with David Moore is what's up next. It's time for a look at the Mexican food family tree.
So this got brought up yesterday briefly before we stopped it, knowing that we probably had a pretty decent segment to go on. And we were talking about as kids where we used to go eat Mexican food. Now, before we go back into what Danny and I were subjected to, I want to know your exposure to Mexican food in the Dallas area, growing up here in the city, where you went, if you did at all, where your parents would take you for Mexican food. Because it was here.
Yeah, it was here. My main exposure to it, the little that I had probably was in the form of the TV dinner, frozen TV dinner. But as far as places you could go, I grew up in Oak Cliff, for the most part in the far southern reaches of Oak Cliff.
And would you guys cross over here very often
Not
to
often.
go eat?
Not often.
Why not? It's only 5 minutes.
I know, but my old man wouldn't do that.
Why not?
He just wouldn't. Because of World War II.
What? I'm confused.
That's why he was the way he was. I didn't understand it then, but I do now after watching the Pacific.
Well, I don't understand right now. What would World War II have to do with driving 5 minutes to eat dinner?
You had to save. You had to hold back, man.
Yeah.
Was it more of a money thing, or was he against like the culture of the Mexican?
No, I don't think it was either one of those things necessarily. Although he was a little bit on the cheap side. He was very fiscally conservative, and if he didn't need to shell out for anything, he wouldn't do it. And he didn't think he needed to do that.
Okay.
But when we did go, there was an El Chico, I think, down on Colorado Boulevard. I think it's still there, in fact. The building's still there. It's some other kind of Mexican restaurant now, but it's still there.
So this is in, the late 50s?
And
probably
early
early 60s?
60s.
Okay.
And then there was the El Phoenix flagship down on McKinney, which is still
there.
Yeah.
Right
And
down
we
the
would go-
street from us.
Yes, and we would go there from time to time. But beyond that, there really wasn't just a whole lot. You know, Ponchos didn't come along until quite a bit later. El Phoenix didn't. What?
Nothing. It's the whole concept of ponchos.
El
makes me
Phoenix
giggle.
didn't start branching out until later on.
Right.
And before long, though, you had the El Phoenix buffet at Hampton in Illinois, and he liked that. That he would do.
He liked
You
the
can get all
buffet.
you can eat.
That's right.
For one price.
Yeah.
Idiot. You better make this worth my while, jackass. Eat another taco.
But as far as there being Herrera's and places like that, if there were, they escaped my purview.
Okay, no, you're right.
I'm very much like him. My first Mexican food experience, because I didn't grow up in the South until I was 10 years old,
Right.
and moved down here. It was all California or Massachusetts or Tennessee, which I don't ever
There wasn't
remember
any
us-
Mexican food.
We didn't really go out to eat a whole lot. It was kind of like Mike's deal. But I remember TV dinners, and it would be that stupid enchilada dinner in
Yes.
the metal tray where half of it would be burnt and the other half was still frozen by a company called Patio.
Yes.
The
Patio?
TV
Yes,
dinner.
the patio TV
Hey, man,
dinner.
the rice and beans and the TV dinner, the Mexican
awful.
TV dinner were deplorable. Just awful.
So I didn't get to enjoy or explore Mexican food until I moved to Texas, and then there was only one or two places. I mean, out in the boondocks, we did have a place called the Tortilla Flat Cafe open up, and that was my first as far as going out to a restaurant and eating Mexican food. And I'm telling you, pound for pound, that's one of the best Mexican restaurants I've ever eaten at.
I believe it.
It's unbelievable.
So you mentioned El Phoenix, and you mentioned El Chico, and you mentioned Poncho's. Poncho's started in El Paso in 1958.
Mm-hmm.
Moved to the Dallas area in the 60s. But El Phoenix started here in 1918.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the flagship that you were talking about down on McKinney, if that's where it originally started, or if that's what it eventually became. But
Well, it might not be the flagship per se, it might not be where it started, but that place has been around a real long time.
And the El Chico, the first El Chico was on Oak Lawn, so right down the road from here.
Yeah,
and
really.
that started in 1940. So, but that was it around here. That's, you mentioned there were no Herreras or anything. No, I mean, you had two. You had El Phoenix and El Chico. I don't know what the third one is, but growing up in Arlington, it was Poncho's or bust.
Mm-hmm.
I think they put an El Chico in when I was, 10 or 11, but my parents were really big Mexican food aficionados. It's weird because Mexican food, for kids right now or for people in their 20s, they just know it as something that it's a part of your weekly meal plan.
Yeah, because it didn't come in vogue until the 80s around here.
No. But it's general. You look at, if you're in your 20s, ask your grandparents if they're still alive about Mexican food. If they're in their 70s or 80s right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't a big deal at all if it was a deal. I mean, if they ate it at all, because like my grandparents hated it. They hated it, and they were from the South, Oklahoma and McKinney. They hated it because it was too spicy.
Now, my parents weren't that keen on it either. I think they liked it, but they had lots and lots of other stuff that they liked more.
Yeah. And
it was kind of like an exotic treat for them.
Yeah, I think my parents, who were in their 70s, early to mid-70s, that's the first generation of Mexican food people here, of people that really took to it. And so we would go to Poncho's. And, dude, Poncho's might as well have been Mia's back then.
As a kid?
Yeah. Oh, God, yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know any better. It was freaking incredible. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so pissed when my parents eventually took me to the El Chico. I thought that was so low rent, and I couldn't get my own food.
I know, and you couldn't get as much as you wanted.
Yeah, I'm like, what? I mean, I want more.
I want 7 flautas.
Yeah, and where's the damn flag I can raise?
That was half the fun as a little kid.
Yeah.
Getting to reach over there and raise the flag and having some woman come over and bring you sopapillas.
And sopapillas, I think that was the key to it all.
Was.
At the end, you got free sopapillas. And, dude, you had to love sopapillas when you were a kid, right?
No.
Not
so much.
I got
didn't?
my parents' $1.99 worth of all of that crap.
Absolutely. So then El Chico came along, and then, like you said, when we were probably Danny and Ty in our
college,
I don't know, probably 15, 16, something, around there. That's when everything started moving in.
The reason, and
what years are we talking about here?
Between 85 and 90. Where it was anything and everything.
See, I remember my grandparents having Mexican food around, but it was usually tamales that they bought from people that lived in the neighborhood that would sell them around. But that was pretty much it, because real Mexican food, Americans had no interest in it. And the Americanization and turning it into Tex-Mex food,
right?
The true Mexican would not embrace that idea. So there was a confluence for many, many years, and finally it got to the point where they embraced the idea of combining the two, American and Mexican food, and turning it into Tex-Mex. That's when you had like On the Borders and all these places that would go ahead and embrace the idea of using Velveeta, using yellow cheeses, using flour tortillas instead of corn. And that's when it was kind of more acceptable. And then since then there's been no turning back, because you can't walk down the street in this city without stumbling over a taqueria or a chain Mexican place.
For us, for our family, it's once a week minimum Mexican food. I mean, there's no doubt. Typically it's Sunday night where I am like craving it. I got to have it.
What's the first thing you do when you go on a 3 or 4 or 5 day week-long trip out of town, like California or New York? The first meal you have when you come back is Mexican.
Absolutely.
Always.
Yeah. Unless it is California and there's some really good, Baja.
There's nothing that compares to going to Mia's and getting that rice and beans and the enchiladas, or going to Herrera's and getting the tacos. There's a huge difference. You can't get that anywhere else other than here.
But now, beyond the El Phoenix and the El Chico of this world, and the El Phoenix Buffet in Hampton, Illinois, Herrera's was the first place to come onto my radar screen, because my parents started going there like in the late 70s and everything, after my old man had loosened up a little bit and everything, I think with some friends of theirs, they discovered Herrera's, and they liked that place. And Herrera's at that time was like up on Oak Lawn, but it was just that little hut that's now the Grapevine or something like that up there.
Yeah, it's moved like 3 times over on Oak Lawn.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what really...
I mean, it was tiny.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what really helped out the Mexican food boom in the 80s. Because, again, I think it started with my parents, and then, 30 years ago or whatever, when they were in their prime, going out and spending and doing all that crap, that really liked Mexican food, the margarita.
The margarita/patio.
Yeah.
French lime margarita.
Going out and having a couple of pops, beer was always served, but, the frozen margarita came along, and then the margaritas on the rock, all that. When that became vogue for every Mexican food joint, I think that really... that helped create the big movement in more ways than one.
It all comes down to booze.
Yeah, it does. But then, it went from basic Tex-Mex, really quick slop, where it's like you order it and 3 seconds later it's out, to, really hardcore dine-in experience. And then that all moved into like the high-end Mexican food places that are here now, like
Javier's.
Like Javier's, yeah. That's just
more like a Mexican steakhouse.
Pretty much, yeah.
All the way from that to like Taco Zimas on Greenville and Ross.
Yeah.
Which gets voted best tacos, every year in like D Magazine or whatnot.
Right.
And it's just a stand.
And I've never had one.
They're great.
I've never had one. And then, you look at it now you have, how many? A dozen different places that just sell tacos?
A dozen? Tribe.
No.
Dozens.
I mean a dozen actual, like, from Fuzzies to Torchies to, there's a dozen different places like that. But,
Velvet.
It's unbelievable how much Mexican food there is in this amount of time. Because it's not that, you're talking 50 years or 40 years.
Yeah.
From 2 to now, I shudder to think how many Mexican food joints are here. Now, I went online last night.
Real quick, I can't believe how many successful chain Mexican places there are. When you start looking at how many Herrera's there are, how many El Phoenixes there are, El Chicos. Up north, you've got Posadas, you've got Chewy's.
Yeah.
You have Ojeda's, you have Ninfas. There's so many that were successful small time, and now there's, 6, 7, 8 of them each.
They ain't going out of business either.
No, they're not. You know why? Because they're freaking delicious. And I want that now.
I need you guys to agree or disagree with me. These are the Mexican food restaurants that I have been to, okay, in the Dallas area.
They're supposed to agree that you've been to them?
No. Tell me if you've been there or not.
Oh, okay.
Luna de Noche.
Been to it?
Mercado Juarez.
Yes.
Been to it?
Iron Cactus.
Yes. Downtown?
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
Mi Casina.
Of course.
Gloria's.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Papacitos.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Blue Mesa.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
La Calle Doce.
On Skillman?
Skillman, and there's one in Oak Cliff, too.
Oh,
more of a seafood Mexican.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yes.
Uncle Julio's.
Of course.
Banditos.
Yes.
Monica's in Deep Ellum.
Oh, my God. Best white queso ever.
Enchiladas on Greenville.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Rafa's.
Where's
I
that?
don't think so.
You haven't been to Rafa's?
Where is that?
God, I think I went to the one in Fort Worth. Hacienda on Henderson.
Yes.
Yep.
J. Pepe's.
Yes.
Matitos.
Mm-hmm.
Herrera's.
Mm-hmm.
Saul's.
Mm-hmm.
Cantina Laredo.
Mm-hmm.
El Phoenix. Margarita Ranch.
Mm-hmm.
No.
La Hacienda.
Mm-hmm.
Desperados.
Yes.
Mariano's.
Mm-hmm.
Matt's.
Mm-hmm.
On the Border.
Mm-hmm.
El Chico.
Mm-hmm.
Mia's.
Mm-hmm.
Manny's.
Mm-hmm.
Chewy's.
Yes.
Ninfa's. Ojeda's.
Oh, my God.
Blue Goose.
Delicious.
Primo's.
Yes. Of course.
We've been to all of those.
That's 39 Mexican food restaurants.
All
We've been-
within about a 2 to 3 mile radius.
Yes, and
these
we've
are
all been to all of
These
them.
are the big ones. You're not even counting the little taquerias that are over on Davis Street that are delicious.
No, these are just the ones that
Or best enchiladas ever, or Yes We Have Tacos. Those places are great too.
Now, I've kind of narrowed it down. There's only a handful that I'll go to now. You know, it seems like I've picked out, being in my 40s, the ones that I really enjoy. But
I generally stay within a small group, too, but I'll go to any of those places.
Yeah, I know. In a pinch, I'm going to any of them. It doesn't matter to me. It's so good. It's such a huge player in this area. It's in you. Again, you just take it for granted what it came from when you were a kid. One option. One.
Yeah. See what El Phoenix did?
Yes.
Talk about the rise of the Phoenix.
What do you mean, what did they do? Oh, yeah.
They
started
it all.
man, in 1918.
They say that, let's see, the downtown location of El Phoenix serves 1,200 lunches on a typical Wednesday or Friday, and that many more for dinner.
And that half-price enchilada day?
I believe so. 1,200.
Jeebus.
Well, long live them. Long live them.
If it weren't for Mexican food, I would weigh about 96 pounds.
Right? It's the only lard that I really get.
It's the only food that I eat.
If it weren't for Mexican food, I think I would die.
And you're going to die because of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So either way. Thank you, Mexicans.
Yes. You're getting even with us. All right, up next, let's get into a little Ranger.
So Saturday, as we talked about yesterday, you were inducted into the Texas Radio Hall of Fame. Awesome event.
I understand there's been a recount and I've been thrown out.
That'd be so great, man. A recount. Sorry, Michael.
Who would go to the trouble for that?
You didn't make it.
Yeah, it hurts to miss that one.
Yeah.
After they almost forgot to induct Outlaw Dave Anderson, or what's his last name?
Andrews.
Outlaw Dave Andrews, as the lights were coming on and people were leaving before he had to rush up to the stage. Other than that, it was a perfect event. It was a wonderful, wonderful little 2.5-hour ceremony that they had. And finally, we got the actual audio of you walking up there. Now, did they tell you anything before you went up there and gave your little speech?
No, they didn't.
They didn't give you a time limit or anything?
He said at the start of the thing that we had to keep it to around 2 minutes, so I was certainly going to comply with that. I wasn't going to beat everybody down.
Right.
Try
Now,
not to.
This is the thing, because you have all these guys, and think about this. You have these guys that have been in this business for 4,000 years combined. These guys were all, Mike was the second youngest one to get inducted. A lot of these guys were 20 years older than him. So...
And these guys were all boss jocks, too. They had no idea who I was.
No, they didn't.
They do now.
But their speeches, since people, it's not like you're going to a salesmanship or a sales convention where people get up there and speak and they're kind of fumbling over everything. These are radio pros, man. This is what they do for a living. And almost everybody to a man got up there and you're just like, wow, that was really smooth.
Yeah,
Smooth, great pipes.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
these guys
jokes.
knew what they were doing.
Succinct.
They were funny and told funny stories. And
What was the guy that got up there with his wife, the guy that was about 130 years old?
was that Vandy?
Vandy Anderson, yeah. What was his joke with his wife up there? It brought the house down.
Oh, God.
Yeah, he was like, he goes, because he seriously was way old. And he goes, I'm going to bring my first wife up here. And I have no idea if that meant he was still married to her or not.
That was his joke, I bet.
Well, and
No, it was better than that.
yeah, but he was like, honey, I told you 20 years ago if you would have killed me now, you'd have been out of jail by now, or something like
Yeah,
that.
if you'd have killed me then, you'd be out by now.
Yeah, and I'll be good.
That's a funny joke.
It
It's a
was.
great joke. Speaking of jokes.
So it was Mike's turn to get up there and speak. Were you nervous at all?
Yes, I was nervous.
It is weird getting up there in front of a huge room full of people. And
Full of strangers.
Yes, and I had a couple things I was going to say, and then I got up there and I just folded completely. So I just had to wing it.
Now, you'd had no notes, no nothing.
No
hand notes
no
that were like smeared from sweat.
No, nothing. I was winging
In
it.
cologne.
Boy, you did smell wonderful. Was that canoe?
It was brute.
So here you go. Here is the not purple, Mino, Mike Reiner Hall of Fame acceptance speech.
Thank you. I'm blown away by this. I really am. A lot of people have come up here and said that today, and I am absolutely right there with you. A lot of people I love are here today. Renee, who was there for the heavy lifting of it all. Jordan, you were a little bit too young for most of that, but I believe you get it now. My sister, Patty, my brother-in-law, Mark, and my nephew, Drew. And also my broadcast partner, Corby Davidson, is with us today. Corby, I appreciate you taking the time to make the drive down here. I stand here today as a metaphor for everybody who has come through the ticket over the years, because what we have done is something unique, something that is different, something that had never been done before, and something nobody thought would work at the time. Yet we took the chance. We made it work, and we have deeply, deeply impacted pop culture in Dallas-Fort Worth and among our listeners in a way that most radio stations do not and just flat out cannot. But we have somehow found a way to do that due to the work and perseverance of all the great people who have come through there over the years. And I know that their day up here is on the way, and I hope that comes sooner rather than later. Once again, I'm absolutely just floored by this honor. I never thought it would happen for me. In sports, they say if you're a real Hall of Famer, then you get in the first time you show up on the ballot, and the thing that I'm just most blown away by is that happened for me. I just can't believe it. Thank you very much.
Oh, good God.
And then he ate it down the stairs.
That was awesome.
Wasn't that good?
Yeah, it was great. You kept it under 2 minutes. That's enough.
That is enough.
You have a guy in your ear?
Yeah, yeah.
I had you.
The giant hook was just kind of floating out from behind the curtain
Yes.
to reel him in.
Right.
The Oscar music starts playing.
Yes. All I could hear was you going, that's enough.
It was cool that, and again, like we said yesterday, I think that each individual speech was for each individual table that really understood that person. And so it didn't really matter that people may have known you or may not have known you. Enough people did know you, to make that resonate, I think. And each guy got up there and kind of did something similar. And so I think it was good. I thought it was perfect. It was well said. You incorporated everything that probably needed to be said as far as the station and the talent and the listeners and the pop culture thing, And although people were probably going, pop culture? What the hell did you do to influence pop culture, youngin'?
Yeah, you'd have had to be there.
Exactly.
I wanted, and if we'd have been in a place where there would have been more people who would have gotten it, I wanted to recreate the anus with him.
Yeah, he wanted me to go up there, and we would just somehow work in the whole...
No, I wanted you to sit out in the crowd.
Oh, okay.
And I would say, the anus was on me, and I wanted you to go, the anus?
The anus?
I go, yeah.
That would have been awesome.
And then you go, I don't think so.
And then just move on.
Yeah.
Next man up.
And then you hear him go, the heinous? Balls.
That's what I wanted to do. And if we'd have had a little bit different room, a more familiar room, then that might have worked. But those people would have been just hopelessly confused, and it would have ruined the day for everybody, like the little ticket has done so many times over the years.
Yes. Like now. Hey, would you guys like to hear another Dallas Cowboys joke?
Well, I'd love to.
All right. What do the Dallas Cowboys and Billy Graham have in common?
I don't know. What do the Dallas Cowboys and Billy Graham have in common?
They can both make 90,000 people stand up and yell, Jesus Christ!
Stop it with the Dallas Cowboy jokes.
No, keep them up. Keep them coming.
Stupid.
It's pretty much all over but the shouting for Michael Vick, and they're just waiting for him to show up at the courthouse and hammer out details of his plea bargain, which seems to be his only viable option if he ever plans to resume his football career again, because everybody has turned on him. And now a couple of those guys are saying that as far as killing the dogs and the way those dogs were killed, that he was as much a part on that and as much in on that as any of them.
He was right there with them, and they did it in April.
Yeah.
They killed like, or they said they estimated they killed like 8 dogs. This April. I mean, that wasn't that long ago.
By drowning and hanging.
Yeah.
And that Vick was doing it right there with him.
Yeah.
You know, the way he is right now and the way everything is stacked against him, if I'm him, I just might roll the dice and just say, let's just go to trial and just see if you can get your army of attorneys to, buy some kind of jury. And just see if you can see what you can do.
There's no doubt about it. That's what I do.
It would be tough. It would be tough,
but
that's your only shot.
Take your chances there.
Well, wait. So you would risk, if your options right now, talking about you two guys, go to jail for 3 years, okay? Let's say that is max, because I think that probably will be max, 3 years. On the lower end...
Watch out for the fame card in this.
Well, that's true. On the lower end, 18 months. Or 10 years. You would roll the dice? Because there is a big difference, man.
Yeah, there's a big difference, but all it takes is one juror.
That's all it takes, man. And you get
you saw what happened in the OJ scene.
You get a lawyer up there that says, okay, you've got these witnesses over here, but let's examine their past a little bit. Let's see who they are. Here's a guy that took care of them and bought them houses and cars and clothes and jewelry, and they didn't want to go to jail, so they turned on him. All it takes is one juror to believe that.
And really the only card he's got left to play is the race card. And the way he would play the race card is by going to trial.
But everyone is black that's involved in this, it sounds like. I mean, I'm talking about in this particular operation. Obviously, I think it's a 75% white rural thing and a 25% black thing.
Well, they could turn it into a racial thing, saying that the white world was out after it.
Yeah, it wouldn't be hard to stir up a big race storm. But the way he's got to do, if he's going to do that, the way he's got to do it is by going to trial.
Boy, you're taking a big chance.
Yeah, you are taking a big chance, but that's all he's got, Corby. I mean, if he wants to stay out of jail totally.
And you're looking at also a lifetime ban, possibly, even if you get the 3 years.
Yeah, well, you know what? Some are suggesting now that the racketeering and gambling aspect of this might be good enough to warrant that.
Yeah.
Because of the bylaws of the NFL.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what he probably ought to not worry about right now is football.
Yeah.
That'd be the last thing on my mind. I wonder if he's got enough money to if he's set for life. Surely he is.
My God, didn't they write him a check for $30-something million as a signing bonus?
I'm sure he has enough money to where he can.
Of course,
live.
The Falcons may want some of that money back.
Well, that's another problem. If you read John Clayton, boy, he cuts to the chase pretty quick. John Clayton wrote a really good article, and he had about 6 questions that were asked that he posed that he answered himself. Like, what do the Falcons do? Well, if they let him go, cutting him would be the easy thing to do, but they're also in danger of losing $22 million. There's contract snafus that they got to go through. And then he asks the question, will he ever play in the NFL again? And he says doubtful. First off, who would touch him?
Right now, it's hard to fathom anybody touching him.
Wonder what the NFL is going to do. Because there's no way that they're going to put any – if he goes to jail or cops a plea, they're not going to do any penalty then, are they? To where their penalty and the penalty that he's paying to the feds is running concurrent? I mean, they'd wait till he got out and then say, okay, you went to jail for a long time? Here, you got a year ban. So say
I don't know. We're pretty much in uncharted waters here.
Well, 9 a.m. was the deadline for him to get this thing done. And I think they've been talking all day long, and we're just waiting around here for an answer. And the longer it goes, the more it makes you think that He's probably thinking what you guys are thinking, go to trial. I can't believe he would take that chance, though.
Boy, but
3 years and 10 years, or 18 months or 10 years?
It's far-fetched.
10 years,
But the
man.
thing is,
But if he wants to stay out of jail altogether, that's the only way that's going to happen.
Or that's the way to stay in jail 4 times as long as you would.
And here's another thing. Who's to say that they're offering a great deal?
Well, I know. We're all
If you're-
speculating on the deal.
You know, if you're the prosecutors, why would you offer him anything?
There's an article today with the Observer, which obviously no one reads, but there's an article in the music section.
I read it for that back section.
Written by Merritt Martin, called The Spirits That Move You. Excuse me. Dallas Talk Radio drums up support for local music. And Merritt goes on to talk about how radio shows, including ours,
The Hardline.
help promote local music and local bands. So midway through the article, she talks about her experiences and going to see bands and stuff and how she was influenced. And then about halfway down, it says Mike Reiner from KTCK 1310 AM, the Ticket's weekday drive time show, The Hardline.
That would be you.
Is the lead member of Tom Petty cover band Petty Theft.
Mike Reiner and Petty Theft.
And he'll let you know it. Petty Theft enjoyed a packed house.
I don't know if I'm the lead member, and I don't know that I've ever been one to let anybody know that.
I'm just reading the article. Petty Theft enjoyed a packed house at Sullivan's Steakhouse last Saturday night. The audience was a mix of McMansioned restaurant painters, and ticket P1s there to see Reiner rock out.
Oh, he's dead.
More important, though, is that listeners who at one time would have chosen a Deep Ellum every band over any cover band were in a Tollway Steakhouse to worship at the altar. A dozen guitars, 2 keyboards, pleated pants, and leather vests accompanied their radio king, the Old Grey Wolf. Reiner says, we're just some old guys trying to have fun before we get put on the short bus.
I knew this was going to turn into that. Let's get to the next part of it, the Danny part.
Well, I don't know if we have enough time.
We're not finished with you. Merritt writes,
I think we do have enough time.
The Hardline does more for local music than plug 2 or 3 Petty Theft shows each month. 2 or 3.
Not much.
It provides music samples, info about local shows, general music news, and even the occasional music history lesson during what is morphed from sports talk into all-out pop culture talk. Here's Mike. We run this guy in there to do e-news every day. That guy also does community quick hits. And then I do what's on Mike's mind every day. Any one of those things could turn toward music, depending on what I tell that guy.
All right, this is taking a sorry turn.
About once every week or two, we do new music with that guy. Whenever the other boys on the show are getting curious about a band from back in the day, they'll tell me to put together a What's the Deal with So-and-so. We'll play some of their music, and I'll talk about what they did back in the day. Because I know. Because I'm smarter than them.
Will you quit editing this and adding crap?
I'm not adding anything.
You're embellishing.
The hell you're not.
I don't even know what embellishing means.
The article stands alone. You don't need to trick it up. Think about
We haven't
it.
got to you next.
Seriously,
We haven't got to you next.
really need a break.
No, not so much.
Okay, first off,
Nice pictures, huh?
well, yeah, we're done with him. Let's move on to you.
First off, what?
Do you have to use the F word? The F word.
I use it all the time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
do you.
dude. Yeah.
Use other
Sure.
words too, Mr. Show Meeting. Don't even get me started. I'm glad he's dead. About a good friend of ours.
Oh my God, dude! All right. Anyone who listens to the Hardline knows producer Danny Bayless
That's me.
is the self-deprecating element of the show. What?
Self-deprecating?
I think she mistyped that. I meant self-defecating.
Defecating, right.
I poop my pants a lot.
Gross, Captain Doo-Doo.
And he hates it when the other guys talk about his band. Now, that's true. It's unfair to hundreds of other bands out there that don't have a media forum to shamelessly promote their stuff. I'm more interested in helping other artists. Let me read this in a different tone. I'm more interested in helping other artists than shoving my stupid crap down listeners' throats. Though he says he thinks the Hardline plays more new music than most music stations, Bayless won't take undue credit for affecting show turnout. He says, just because we say it's good or suggest that people should attend a show, I think it might translate to a couple of new attendees, if any at all.
Go ahead.
He goes on, I think that people base their willingness to go to shows on 30-second clips of a song they hear on iTunes rather than actually being adventurous and checking bands out sight unseen. Basically, people are effing lazy.
Gosh.
Including our listeners.
No, I said me included. You're a peckerhead.
Basically, people are effing... That word doesn't even need to be in there.
No. You know...
Could you just easily said, basically, people are lazy?
Nope.
You know...
You got to make your point, man, with
the
F word.
They're just effing lazy, man.
Right.
Gosh.
Oh, here's another...
I'm embarrassed for the show.
Good.
Here's slow down, because here's another quote from you.
Is this where he asks her for her phone number?
Mike says, you gotta get off your ass to go.
Mike!
Wouldn't rear or fanny or bottom have worked just
ass?
as well?
Or tush?
It's
What's wrong with
dirty.
ass?
It's
The
dirty.
anus.
We use that word on this show every day.
Why didn't you use anus?
It's a little too biological.
You gotta get off your ass to go, and you don't really have to get off your ass and get out of your pajamas or whatever to download something.
You said ass twice.
I didn't say ass twice.
My God.
Ass man. Yo, assy.
And sometimes when you're out, you might think about something you heard us talk about. But whatever, man, F it. You might just wheel into Best Buy or wherever and buy the thing. S. But going to a different show, as you well know, is an entirely different and more complicated proposition, you see.
Oh, my God. Mike. This is horrible. What a dark day.
See.
To poor, sweet little Merritt.
I don't even use that word.
Really?
Yes. All right, time for the pool party today. A very interesting topic Dan has prepared for us. Now, we probably should tell everybody. Sometimes it's a little difficult for us to keep up with everything going on in foreign ports. This may be an old story to some because it did happen some years back. And it's essentially in Houston, but there are a lot of people who may not know this, and it's just been brought to our attention. So,
the reason being is because I think a lot more people are watching Ranger games, and there's a sponsor that you see on Ranger games probably in every break or every other break, and that would be the Brown Hand Center. Dr. Michael Glenn Brown, who is 53 years old, invented a procedure to assist in the relief from carpal tunnel syndrome some years back, and I believe he patented it, and very successful company, very successful surgery center. In 2002, his income was like $2.5 million a year, and you've seen the commercial. Let's play just the last 11 seconds of this spot. You know you've seen this for sure.
I personally train the doctors in the Brown procedure, and the Brown Hand Center will care for you just as I care for my own family.
Daddy's baby girl.
I'm not kidding you.
I race for the mute button.
I won't. I change the channel.
Yeah, I'll change the channel.
I swear to God,
I can't handle it.
I will not. And this is before I knew anything about it.
Right, this is before I knew anything about him because, number one, he's this bearded weirdo.
God, he's weird
He's
looking.
so creepy. He's got this wife who looks like she's had about 8 gallons of collagen shot up in her lips, and giant boob job. looks like she's about 20 years younger than him, and he has like 8 daughters of varying ages surrounding him. And right at the end, he is handed the little girl and sets her on his lap, and when she gets the cue, she says this.
Baby girl.
That's when vomit shoots out of my mouth and covers my house. So I already hate this guy. Well, I think he was mentioned on the air at one point a few weeks back, and somebody sent me an article. Well, I did a little investigating, and there's many articles on the crazy, seedy, evil life of this man. Let's start at the beginning.
Now, first off, I hear that woman on the commercial isn't even his wife.
Oh, they say she's an actress?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that stands to reason then. So let's get into this. In 1984, he divorced his first wife, Lisa Ruth Van Stone, after 3 years of marriage. He then remarried to Deborah Jaramillo after 7 years of marriage, divorced her at the cost of $2 million. Then he met his third wife, ironically enough, Darlena Hoffman, at a pool party.
Nice.
In 1993, when she was 20 years old, he 35.
Oh, no.
He took her on European vacations, Colorado ski trips, and an African safari.
Norm.
Wooed her.
The demographic.
He was very controlling up to the point where he told her he wanted her to quit his job. That was the first sign, she said. Now, all of this is court statement in a criminal case that was against him in 2002. A lot of the quotes that you'll hear from her. He offered her a prenup that would pay her, in case they did get divorced when they were negotiating getting married, that would buy her a vehicle, give her $100,000 flat cash, and $60,000 for every year of marriage. She accepted. They married in 1995. All right after the marriage, Dr. Brown forced her to quit her plans for college. She was only 22 at the time, and made her carry a cell phone with her at all times so he could reach her immediately whenever he wanted.
Oh, a phone is ringing.
Also, according to Darlena, this is, quote, he wanted sex morning and night all the time. He was never happy unless he got sex. I would give him sex, but I didn't want to do it every day.
God, who does?
The doctor also had a wonderful fascination with firearms.
Oh, boy.
And as the relationship went on, this intensified. She says he had guns in his attic, guns in the bedroom, guns in his vehicle, pistols galore, big hunting rifles, and semi-automatic machine guns. According to Darlena, Brown habitually carried 2 permitted handguns and demanded that she carry a gun as well. She recalls that the only time he was unarmed was while he was in surgery. When they first began their relationship, she says he told her his second wife was trying to kill him, and he occasionally wore a bulletproof vest and hired police for home and office security.
This is in Houston.
This is all in Houston. Red flag city, if I'm Darlena at this point.
You think?
Mm-hmm. Now, during this time, the marriage was getting very rocky, and Darlena ended up having an affair with a 25-year-old man for about a year. She confessed all this to Michael. He requested a divorce, but they reconciled, which happens a lot in this story. And then they had a daughter, Sophie, in 1999.
Daddy's baby girl.
Not her. She wasn't invented yet. All right, in November of that year, Dr. Brown came home drunk, so she told him that she was taking their daughter and staying with her mother until he sobered up. This is what happened. She says, when I picked up Sophie, he lost it. To him, I was saying I was going to leave forever. He just started punching me, hitting my head up against the wood wall. Then he picked up Sophie. He was holding her with one hand and punching me in the head with the other. He put Sophie down on the floor, underfoot, and continued punching me. According to the wife, she stayed a virtual prisoner the rest of the night, sitting on the couch while Brown refused to let the daughter go. Now, he was arrested, and charges were placed against him, but through his longtime friend and attorney, a man named Rob Todd, he coerced and threatened Darlena to drop the charges, with Todd even doing so much as picking up Darlena to go to the courthouse, picking her up in his car, saying that if the doctor went to prison, he would lose his medical license and she would be left penniless. The doctor himself threatened to kill her if she pressed charges. She dropped the charges.
Jeez.
By September 2000, they were back together, and she was 4 months pregnant with their second child. Now, the police officer that was kind of overseeing this investigation said it was so obvious to him that she had been coerced, that she was threatened because she was bruised up, and her written statement to retract the fact that she wanted to press charges, there was nothing they could do, but he was just shaking his head going, I can't believe you're doing this. And they said that had it not been for that attorney, if they could have gotten her alone, then anything else that happened after this would not have happened because he would have been in prison.
What a miserable existence.
So one night...
it gets worse.
One night on a trip to Las Vegas, Brown said that he was going to go out to pick up some food. He showed back up to the hotel at 6:30 in the morning, drunk, pulled a knife on himself and held it to his throat, threatening to end it all. Darlena called her mother, and Brown smashed the phone into a glass coffee table, then started sawing his fingers with the knife.
God.
They reconciled again.
How? What is wrong with people? By this point, she's going to collect like $600,000.
This is when it gets really juicy. I'm going to just read this straight up. During the last full year of the marriage, Michael Brown began making homemade videotapes that provide a window into his thoughts. The cassette segments found in his safe were shot using a propped-up camera and occasional audio from a phone speaker. Most of the taping apparently was done during sporadic separations from his wife. Now, near the beginning, Brown offers a disclaimer in these homemade videotapes that this is a Hollywood movie script I'm practicing and has no basis in truth whatsoever. I'm not suicidal. If he intended a script, the narrative then becomes indistinguishable from his life in the near future. All right, in one sequence, Brown holds a bottle of whiskey and points a pistol to his head, all the while musing on the possibility of suicide as salvation from the hell he claims his wife has put him through. After speculating that repair work on an air conditioner was really a plot by his wife and mother-in-law to poison him with cyanide gas, Brown addresses his infant daughter, who is there in the video with him,
Daddy's baby girl,
warning her to fear her mother. Quote, I want to believe she's a good person, saying this to his daughter, but a little wayward. But in order to do that, I have to believe that she's stupid. Well, no, she's not stupid, but if you don't believe she's stupid, then she's doing these things. She's deceitful at best, and at worst, she's evil. You've got to get away from your mother. She's got a bond with her mother that has ruined my life, and she'll ruin yours too. Your mother is making me hurt so much that it's like I'm even being burned, and the flames are all around me.
Huh.
Now, in a segment that he records a phone conversation with Darlena, Brown's voice is insistent as a petulant child as he chides his wife for failing to live up to biblical standards. The doctor quotes a passage, "You wives will submit to your husbands, for the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church." He pauses and then adds sarcastically, "Doesn't say anything good about your point ad infinitum. What's your response?" When Darlena asks whether Brown thinks he's treating her properly, he replies, Is that response on here? Nope, it doesn't say cross-examining your husband. Nope, I don't see that there. Well, like seemingly reading his Bible. Brown warns his wife that she's not going to have any other man raising my babies. Says, the best I can do is beg you to come home and try to live a good kind of marriage. Now, do you want to try to come home and have a normal life or not? In a tired voice, she says, what are you talking about, Mike? It's not a normal life. Well, he says, get your baby and come home and be nice and stop running to your mother and learn how to say I'm sorry for the sake of the relationship. Incredibly enough, she came home.
Poor women.
Late at night in January of 2001, Darlena testified that Brown came home after visiting Rick's Topless Club in the Houston area.
Now we're talking.
He later offered the novel explanation that he'd run out of good wine at his home and went to Rick's to get some more good wine. Even though she was 7 months pregnant with their second daughter, the physician began slugging her in the face and clubbed her with a post he'd ripped off the bed. After he shoved her into a dining room coffee table, she told deputies she managed to break free and flee upstairs. She locked herself in the nanny's bedroom as Brown pursued her and fired several shots through the door. Between holding down the inner knob of the door to keep her husband at bay and making frantic calls to 911, Darlena says she prayed for her life and that of her unborn child. He was arrested and the case went to court. The verdict awarded Darlena $3.4 million in custody of their daughters, and it found that the doctor had committed violence against his spouse. Under the terms of the legal agreement, Brown can see his children only on supervised visitation in the presence of a social worker. He has appealed the verdict.
So that must be what the wife in the commercial is, the social worker.
It must be. Now, there was a divorce decree that happened after that. This was all criminal. Darlena received over $5 million in a divorce suit, along with child support payments. Now, with jail time, the doctor would not be able to make a living, so both agreed he would plead out and receive deferred adjudication. He did not go to jail.
Because she wanted her money?
She wanted the money for the kids. She wanted the money for the kids. And for herself, I'm sure, becoming I'm not saying this woman,
I know,
but
yeah.
come on. All right, in 2002, he remarried. This is just a few months after all of this happened, to a woman named Rachel Spaniel, 30, he 45 at this time, in Las Vegas. Less than a year later, Rachel and Brown had a daughter of their own. So he knocked her up. He's got not her. So he's just got nothing but daughters. In 2003, Houston police received a call from Rachel that Dr. Brown was threatening to kill her. Police investigated. No charges were pressed, but a few weeks later, Rachel filed for divorce. A few weeks after that, she retracted it. 2 years later, he files for bankruptcy in the Southern District of Texas. Among his listed creditors is the IRS, which claims he owns around $500,000 in back taxes. In October of 2005, Dr. Brown submitted a hair specimen for drug testing per his probation agreement. It was found positive for cocaine by 2 toxicology reports.
Wow.
In 2006, the Texas Medical Board revoked his medical license, barring him from practicing medicine in the state of Texas. According to his website, he subsequently retired. Later that year, Rachel, his wife, sought a protective order against him. In an affidavit attached to her motion, she said that Brown had a history of violence against her from 2004 to 2006, in which Brown allegedly assaulted me, spit on me, pulled my hair, and degraded me in front of the children. Her affidavit also states that after one of these incidents, while she was 9 months pregnant, again, she grabbed a video camera to document the bruises. He allegedly gripped the camera out of her hands and demolished it. She also alleged that Brown abandoned me and our children on the day she gave birth to their son in September of 2006. Eventually, the couple reconciled, and Brown went on to give an affidavit where he stated, "The children are happy and comfortable at my home. They are very attached to me." And that's the last we've heard.
That's who we see every night on TV.
That's the guy.
Yes.
That is Dr. Brown. That is Dr. Michael Glenn Brown of the Brown Hand Center in Houston.
Now, he can't practice, right?
He cannot practice medicine. I believe he can instruct his crew of surgeons. Now, he doesn't say he does the procedure. He says that all of the surgeons on my staff are trained by me. So, no, he cannot operate on anybody.
I can't believe anybody takes this guy's money. And I'm not blaming the Rangers because I know what the economy's like. And if he pays, he pays. You know?
Right.
We know that dog and pony show. But still, this is like...
This is a bad dude.
Yeah.
This is a bad dude that has had absolutely no consequences for his actions, other than having to fork out money.
He's got the money and connections enough to buy everybody off.
And that's what the police say about this guy, that he has got so much money and he's so lawyered up that he is damn near untouchable. And these women that he involves themselves with are so subservient to him and unwilling to really press charges on him and force him to prison. Also, they all have 100 kids with the guy, so they need his money. They need him out of jail so they can live.
Yeah. Lord knows they don't want to work.
He can promise them things that they would never get any other way.
So the next time you're watching a Ranger game and you see a bearded, creepy, weird dude with a family of 78 daughters and
the very guy that probably from the first time you saw him in the first game of the year this year, you thought there was something really fishy about this.
And the spot ends with this.
Daddy's baby girl.
Think back to this segment and know exactly who that guy is.
That he's a cocaine-snorting, bedpost-wielding maniac.
Yes.
With guns.
With lots of guns.
Wow.
It's an interesting story, certainly.
All right, community quick hits are on the way.
We will say farewell to one of our dear, dear friends in the industry.
KTCK Dallas-Fort Worth, KTDK Sanger.